Welcome to Rocket, the official logistics partner for the largest sporting event in world history, the FIFA World Cup 2026. Welcome to the Gigs podcast. I'm your host, Nikki Sands, founder and CEO of Gigs. And today we are highlighting Rocket, the company that has moved the world's largest tours for the past 47 years. Every major stage that you've ever stood in front of, odds are it was probably moved there by Rocket. But this summer, they're not only moving the largest tours, they're moving the FIFA World Cup across 3 countries, 16 host cities, and 104 matches. We are here in Los Angeles to find out what that actually looks like and meet the people making it happen. Let's get into it. I'm excited to talk to the man that runs the control tower here at Rocket. Alex Becker has spent 13 years with Rocket and has worked his way up to Senior Operations Manager of Worldwide Events. He's LA-based and he's been involved in the FIFA project since day one. So he's gonna tell us what it really takes to move the World Cup. Alex, so nice to meet you.
Hi, Nikki.
Thank you for having us.
You're very welcome.
So we're standing in the Rocket warehouse right now.
Yep.
You are managing the control tower. What does that really mean? What are you managing?
I'm basically managing a team that is the air traffic control of the project, is the analogy I would best use. So we're not physically flying the planes, we're not physically driving the trucks. It's many folks across our organization that are operating, that are moving the freight, and we sit as a layered approach on top of that to ensure that everyone knows as they are flying their plane or managing their shipment or driving their truck, they know where to go, where to land, who needs to receive them, and just ensure we have that visibility across the organization and we can catch bottlenecks and critical issues that an individual might not see.
What does a typical day look like for you as you're preparing for the World Cup?
Right now we're in peak load-in. It's end of May, so a lot's happening. But a Tuesday right now, I'm waking up and I'm checking our tracker. It's a system that we developed over a long period of time to essentially put all of the information in one place, for that information to then funnel its way down to our on-sites and all the right people seeing the right things at the right time to execute on a daily basis with the biggest sporting event in the world.
History.
At stakes.
In the world history.
World history, you're right.
You're talking about managing a bunch of people and movements, but how many people are you actually communicating with?
For me, on a weekly basis, it's in the thousands.
What types of people? What roles are you talking to?
It's people all across our organization. It's people across FIFA's organization, which is large. It's people across sponsors. It's suppliers. It's partners of every kind. It's their partners and their suppliers down many legs.
Something that I heard that has not been able to get out of my mind is if you go to any of the 16 stadiums around Mexico, Canada, and the US, and you turn the stadium upside down and shake it, anything that falls out, Rocket got it there.
Essentially, yes.
So it's everything from the brand activations, the team jerseys, to like socks and merchandise.
That's right.
This is a big job.
It sure is.
You've had 13 years at this company now, so I'm sure that has helped with relationship building and with when something is going wrong, you kind of now can pull from all those years of experience to say,
Sure.
oh, this is what we do. But has there been in the planning of this World Cup any moments where you're like, what do we do? How do we do that?
In some ways, yes. I find that my experience at the company has put me in a unique position to help manage this sort of team and this level of complexity and volume and scale within our organization because I started in IT.
Oh, really?
I worked in compliance briefly. I worked in music touring for a while with my father. I then spent a lot of time with sports, operating and managing on site. So I've sort of dabbled in a lot of things, and I think that gave me a unique approach and ability to put a team together and a system and process to manage all of this.
And you're managing a lot. So this is the official FIFA ball that is being used at all the matches. But you told me something really cool before we started filming, that you don't know who's actually going to make it to the end. How does this work?
Yeah, so that is the knockout stage of the tournament. The knockout stage is where teams are going to start being knocked out of the tournament in real time as they lose potential matches.
Yeah.
Part of that is when the balls are being displayed and used during the match, they're actually pre-printed with the logos or nations that are competing at that match.
Wow.
But we don't know who's competing during those matches until each knockout stage match completes. So
Yeah.
it's a scramble every time a match completes. Okay, you now know this team is going against this team for the next match, which means the balls must get printed immediately and then sent by express air freight to the next match to make sure they're there in time.
And you guys are responsible for that
Yeah.
too. So is everything in here going to the World Cup?
We do have some of the FIFA gear in here that are destined for SoFi here, one of the host city stadiums, but we actually have an entire other dedicated warehouse that is just FIFA.
Got it. So this has other touring and everything else
Yeah.
that y'all are doing. Show me around.
Yeah, sure.
Let's go. It's a really massive scale. Let's see. 2.6. Wait. Jenny, get out of here. Alex, what is this? What was just dropped off?
It is definitely FIFA,
Hey!
host city. Oh, this is on location, so it's
A bar table.
furniture.
Furniture.
Yeah.
So this was maybe for like, for inside the stadium or for
Yeah,
outside
mostly
maybe?
for inside, like VIP locations, lounges, athlete locations. So
And how long is it gonna sit here before it goes to SoFi?
sometimes it's a day, sometimes it's a week. A lot of the stadiums have space constraints, so it's a matter of deciding between the supplier, the stadium, the client, us, and FIFA. Is there space to take unassembled furniture into SoFi and then assemble it somewhere? Do we need to assemble it here, which triples the size and volume? So you need that many more trucks.
Wow. And who's receiving it once you get to LA? Who's unboxing? And do you have a whole fleet of people?
Yeah, it's a combination of sometimes they have their own crew, but you have to be accredited to be on site at the stadium. So most of the clients tend to not have their own accredited crew, maybe a few. And it's usually Rocket that is providing accredited hands and crew to be able to assist in building 1,000 chairs.
We're what, about 2 weeks out, 2-ish weeks out from
Yeah.
the first match. Are you guys already loading in there?
Oh, we've been loading in for 3 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So there are 3 countries, 16 stadiums, 104 different matches. From a logistics standpoint, what does that number actually mean in terms of movement?
People might assume 16 stadiums, which means 16 load-ins and 16 load-outs, because typically that's what a stadium tour might look like for
Right.
music touring or for usual events. But in this case, it's essentially interlocking non-stop movements continuously across an entire continent, because it's not one load-in at SoFi. It's a continuous load-in that is a constant revolving door almost, where freight is coming in, it's getting assembled, pieces need to come back to be fulfilled somewhere else if they restock or if they need to replenish somewhere else. It's a never-ending interlocking web of movements across all 3 countries.
So y'all Rocket, in addition to all the stuff you guys are already doing with concert touring, you have all hands on deck for this, I can imagine.
All hands.
Nonstop.
Non-stop.
I don't envy you guys. Where is this from?
That is from South Korea,
Okay.
and it is for the World Cup.
Do you know what's inside?
I don't.
You just need to know where it goes.
Yes.
Is this also for the World Cup?
Yeah.
Jeez. That's crazy. So what is something that keeps you up at night on an event this large?
Yeah. So seeing is believing, I would say, in my world. The unknowns at this point are sort of what keep me up at night.
Like what?
The unknowns of, have sponsors activated yet? Have they made agreements with their partners and suppliers? Have their partners and suppliers given them the products yet to then be sent to an unknown location that we need to pick it up from, get it to a stadium? And there's just a lot of unknowns out there.
Yeah.
And those are the things that, the control tower is built for. We're built to absorb and scale as the project kind of expands and contracts. But my entire philosophy in building it is to make sure it is sustainable in those contractions and expansions.
Do you foresee that anyone will say last minute, like, oh, we got to get this there and this there?
It's every hour.
Every hour.
Yeah.
Leading up to the event and throughout the event.
Correct.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of emergencies.
Yeah.
And you're getting married in the middle of all this, I heard.
Sure am.
This is a good timing.
Yeah.
What is a moment from the last 12 months that you're going to remember forever?
It's definitely going to be when our tracker went live. It was many, many months of work by many departments across our organization to get it working. And now we have it. So shipments like this, where a crate shows up on site, if any instance comes up where there's an unknown that we need to look up, the tracker is giving people real-time information between the systems we have at play, so they can quickly identify what is it that they're looking for, or what do they need to find, or who do they need to call. It's at their fingertips.
Huge. For our audience, people who have toured, they know the pressure of a truck not showing up or freight that needs to be somewhere. What is the FIFA version of that?
From my experience in touring, you typically have, if there's an issue, if there's an escalation, if you need to get hold of someone, you're usually dealing with one to maybe a handful of folks to deliver bad news or problem solve. It's a stage manager, a production manager, maybe it's a rental company that you're in touch with, but the FIFA version of that is a complex, deep web of connecting individuals through many organizations. So if something changes, if there's a problem, the question we constantly have to ask ourselves is who needs to know? Because that problem now affects potentially hundreds or thousands of people. It's not just the person you may have spoken to about the problem 10 minutes ago. It might also impact an entire functional area at FIFA, plus an entire work stream that spans across multiple companies, their suppliers, their partners. So that part of it can be a bit tricky to manage because it's not just reporting to maybe a few people, it's blasting information to the right people, which sometimes is hundreds or thousands.
And it's around the world.
Correct.
So not everyone who's involved in the World Cup is actually in America, right?
Correct.
That you're talking to? Does everyone speak English at least?
For the most part, yeah.
Is this even more collaborative than the Olympics?
Much more.
Were you involved in the Olympics?
The last 8.
Wow. What is the biggest difference of this one than the Olympics?
For me personally, it's a much bigger scale.
Okay.
Usually for the Olympics, I'm used to working with a handful of NOCs, NPCs, or basically the countries.
Okay.
And in this case, we're dealing with the organizing committee, which would be FIFA, and all of the suppliers and partners and sponsors and just many more organizations than I'm used to working with. And that basically extends to the company as well. We've never worked a project this large, and the world has never seen a project this large.
Incredible. Why do you love it?
I've always loved problem solving, and I've loved being involved in things that require developing and growing and adapting and collaborating.
Yeah, I think you're literally in the control tower of that. So you're doing the right thing, and they're lucky to have you.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm still learning this world. A term I've heard is the carnet. What is a carnet?
Yeah, carnet is essentially a passport for commercial goods or freight.
Oh, okay.
So it's a way for goods to travel into and out of countries on a temporary basis without having to permanently import it like it was for sale.
Oh.
So if goods like touring goods or sporting event goods that are going to leave the country again, it's essentially a way to tell customs, these are the goods I'd like to bring in, and they will be leaving. So it's an itemized list that tells customs, I'd like to bring in soccer balls and these things, and we promise we will take them out of the country, so they have record of what you're bringing in and that you will take them out.
Got it. So in your 13 years of working Rocket and working logistics and operations, especially with these massive events, has anything gone wrong?
Things tend to go wrong in the world that we work, but we are the problem solvers. We're experts at it. A unique one is probably pole vaults. Athletes that are pole vaulters like to travel with their pole vaults if they can. Oh. And they attempt to, speak with the airlines, hey, I want to bring a 12-foot pole and check it as luggage. Is that okay? And, an airline representative might say, sure.
Yeah.
And then they show up and it's certainly not something that they were actually prepared to receive. So we will get a call on a Friday that says, hey, I need you to pick up a pole vault from this airport and it needs to be in this country by Tuesday and I need it delivered to the stadium by so-and-so time.
Wow.
And those are hard things to fly with their dimensions.
That's wild. I've never used a pallet jack before. Can you show me how this works?
Yeah, so its steering column is a little bit unique, but you'll see this is the steer. And on this little lever, you're gonna push it down when you wanna control how high it goes.
Okay.
Because the forks are gonna go up to catch the pallet depending on how low and high it is and make sure it's catching on the bottom of the pallet. So if you wanted to raise it, you put it in the locking field and then you're gonna raise it and you see it's getting up from the ground while the wheels stay at the bottom. And then if you want to lower it, you're holding this. So essentially you'd be taking it over here. Oh, well, there's nothing on it to keep it from...
Oh! How about me? Okay.
Careful. Yeah, now
Lift
we're
me
in.
up.
And then
Lift
we're
me
gonna
up.
lift it.
Whee!
Go.
All right, your turn. I'm gonna lift you up now. Okay, here we go. Straight.
Give it a good, yeah.
Oh!
Keep going.
One more. Okay, got it. Okay, all right. This goes down.
Yep.
There we go. Boom! Oh, sorry, I didn't.
No, you're good.
Let's go, let's go. I have freight that needs to be going to SoFi.
Do you have any labels for me? How do I know where I'm going?
I don't know where you're going. You tell me with your control center, okay? Let's lift this thing up and I'll put you in the truck. Stay right there.
Okay, I'll stay right here.
And so when I lift this up, do I just pull this rope?
On that side, roll up.
Is it a button?
No, it should be the, you might have to unlatch it. Is it, that's probably locked.
Sorry, how does it work? This?
Right here.
Oh,
Do you want to step on it? It's got some pressure going up.
got it. Okay, ready? Stand on your pallet, Alex. And it's closed. We'll get you, we're gonna load you up on a truck. Beep, beep, beep. Hire me. You guys have health insurance?
This is definitely not OSHA certified.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. All right, here we go. Oh, there's a lock on this one. No! All right, well, let me just pretend.
Then I'm going in the truck.
Yep. To SoFi. All right, it's good enough, right? All right, I'm gonna release you now.
Keep going.
And burp. Just call me the next Rocket warehouse manager. Just kidding.
Hired.
Hire me, Rocket. What's up? We are in Atlanta, Georgia at the FIFA match between Spain and Saudi Arabia. We are waiting to go to the VIP lounge. Thank you very much to Rocket. They're the greatest. Kickoff has begun, and we are literally on the field.
Turn.
Thank you, Rocket, for getting us here. This is insane. Justin Carbone is the EVP of live touring at Rocket, where he's led the company's music touring business through some of the biggest years in the industry's history, including a 2026 Parnelli Award for Freight Forwarding Company of the Year. If your favorite artist has toured the world in the last 6 decades, there's a very good chance that Rocket's team has moved the gear that made it happen. So I get to sit down with Justin Carbone. Thank you so much for doing this. Next month marks 20 years of working with Rocket. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
You guys have become the absolute dominator in the industry. What I want to know is, how do you do it? Like, what do you guys do?
What we do isn't rocket science.
Okay.
We are a freight company moving boxes from A to B. However, everybody can do it in ideal conditions. Anybody can move cargo from one city to the next, given enough time and in the most perfect conditions. When the weather's good, when there's no delays, when there's no political or geopolitical environments to navigate, when there's no strikes or ports or anything of that. What we do is we do it within the most adverse conditions.
Take me back to the start. What was your very first gig?
Before I got in the world of music touring, I started in general freight in the late 90s. I had a small freight forwarding company, family company, worked there for about 4 or 5 years in the New York City area. And then in 2002, moved my way into music touring. The first gig I ever did was day one. I never even went to the office. The person I was handling the tour asked me to show up in Miami, and we took Enrique Iglesias from Miami to Puerto Rico in a 747.
Okay, then. That's a good first day.
Yeah. We almost missed the show.
Why?
We had 5 days to move the cargo from Miami to Puerto Rico while they took a small, separate set of gear through shows in the Caribbean.
Oh.
And we got up in the 747 full plane. We got about halfway to Puerto Rico, and the hydraulics were broken in the plane, and turned around and went back to Miami.
Day of show?
It was a few days before the show.
Oh my gosh.
And we landed back in Miami and spent 24 hours sitting in the pilot lounge while they fixed the plane, and then went to Puerto Rico. It's a 3-hour flight. It took us about 3.5 days to get there.
Oh my gosh. This is, I'm sure, one of the many billion things that could go wrong in getting people and things to shows. And if there's one thing everyone knows in the music industry is the show has to go on. Seats are sold, seats are filled. You got to have the show. And for me, from where I'm standing of my experience in the industry, shows always go on. Gear always gets to whatever country it needs to get to. Rocket does like literally every artist. Over 47 years that Rocket's been around, I'm assuming that requires relationships and just warehouse space around the world to use and all the connections with getting into countries and out. Do you guys struggle? Have there ever been issues of getting gear into different countries?
Sure. So going back to Rocket Cargo's roots in the 1970s, we are one of the companies that was the architect of getting cargo around the world. We're at the precipice in the forefront of moving cargo into certain cities, such as taking Queen to Brazil for the first time.
Okay.
Opening up different markets, Southeast Asia, places in Africa. We're the only company that's ever moved the cargo to and did a show in Antarctica for Metallica.
What?
There are places where people have come to us and said, we need to move into a certain area or a certain country. And we've had to literally write the book on how to do it. Taking the Rolling Stones to Cuba, certain shows like that. So we have the largest network in the world. We have the most trusted network in the world. And we also have longstanding relationships with lots of people in all the countries around the world.
That's the secret sauce.
It is. Our network is definitely our secret sauce.
And I like how you said anyone can do this in good conditions, but most things are just not good conditions, weather and everything.
Look, from time to time, we have great conditions.
Yeah.
And it makes our job very enjoyable. And those are the days you can have a nice dinner once you deliver the cargo to the show and enjoy your evening.
Yes.
Oftentimes, that's not the case.
I want to go into, so you had your first gig with Enrique Iglesias.
Who we still work with 25 years later.
How amazing. What cool full circle moment.
Great artist, great partner. I wish we had all clients that were like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
My first show I ever worked was Dolly Parton, and then I got to work a show 6 years later for her. And also, can everyone just be like Dolly? Wow. Take me into what you did next in your career and what led you to Rocket.
So I worked at a competitive company in the early 2000s. And then in 2006, I made the move over to the Rocket company, opening up an office in New Jersey. Running that office for about 15 years. And then in 2020, I moved here to Los Angeles to help manage and run the live touring team.
Why live touring? Why is that the direction you went?
I was working in general freight in the late 90s in New York City, and a lot of my customers were in the live industry space, speakers, staging companies, lighting companies. I had no idea that Rocket existed. I had no idea that even an industry existed that was music touring or live concert touring. Like everybody else, I just liked going to shows and enjoying them, never thinking about how everything got there.
Yeah.
Once I had sort of roots in the freight world and I was understanding that what it takes to move things from A to B, then we looked into sort of specialties. And some of my clients were sort of dragging me in that direction. And a competitive company called me out of the blue and said, hey, do you want to come work for us? And that's what it was.
That's too cool.
I moved to New Jersey, and that was the start of the career.
Amazing. So you come into Rocket, you now are leading live touring, getting everything around the world. Some of, I see on your wall, we got Shakira, who's closing FIFA, the World Cup this year. And then you got Katy Perry, who's opening it. And so these are artists that you've worked with. In what capacity do you work with these artists? Who do you work with on the touring team? And how involved do you guys get?
So the answer to the question of who we work with on the team is traditionally the production manager.
Okay.
That's where the relationship lies. I'm lucky enough to have really deep-rooted relationships with some of my production managers that have hired us to work. The longer you work with them, the more they trust you, the more you produce results, the more they'll give you information to route things and work on the tours.
Yeah. And so someone like Marty Hum, who we were just talking about, who's right here, picture him over there. You've worked with him, I'm sure, for over a decade now at this point.
So the first time I worked with Marty was on the Shakira tour in 2011. It's the first one. I'd been doing touring for close to 10 years at that point, and it's the first mega tour or large scale tour with large aircrafts that I was responsible for running through South America and Central America. Marty was at the helm. He was the tour director, and he was kind, and he was very supportive of working with the production manager and letting us run the show. There were all kinds of things that went wrong on that tour. There was anything but ideal conditions on that tour. We had situations where planes were broke. We had situations where we had floods in certain cities in Brazil, which forced us to do back-to-back, day-over-day stadium shows. One from Brazil, in Brasilia, the next day in Lima, Peru.
Whoa.
Taking large-scale productions, 747-style productions, finishing a show at midnight in Brasilia and delivering the next day at noon in Lima, Peru.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
For a stadium show like that, how many aircrafts and trucks are you guys managing?
So over the years, it's gotten bigger and larger scale for many, many reasons.
Yeah.
The production can have as tight as one aircraft moving around, very efficient through the world. We are now moving some shows around that are in the 9 to 10 aircraft, 9 to 10 full 747 aircraft style productions.
So relationships are the secret sauce of Rocket and of the people working at Rocket. And so that's how you've had these long-standing relationships. What are some other relationships you've had?
From the Shakira tour that we did, the production manager, who's a dear friend, called me up at one point around 2010 and said, hey, I'm at a crossroads. I'm going to take one of two jobs. I'm either going to stay with Shakira, who's going to tour, or I'm going to take this new artist called Katy Perry and see how that artist is going to move forward. We had a long discussion as friends and as work colleagues, and he chose to go on the Katy Perry route, and we got involved in that train, which hasn't stopped in the last 15 years.
No, it has not.
No.
I mean, she doesn't keep. I mean, she literally went to the moon, didn't she? Just now, go to the
Yeah, we weren't involved in the moon. We weren't involved in the moon.
Did you move
space
Katy Perry to the space?
We did not. We did not.
Rockets are next for you guys. Come on, rocket cargo. Okay.
Rockets.
Rocket rockets. Might need one. That's cool. So, talk about what that looks like of a emerging artist and what growth looks like with an artist.
So, from our perspective, we are a vendor on the tour. We are a cog in the wheel, and as an artist grows throughout their journey, we're there to support them in terms of what they want and what they need around the world to create their vision. An artist like Katy, in our opinion, sees the shows going around the world as they build her brand, right? And so some of the things that we move around the world may not be technically for the show. They may be for some of the brand building. And that just becomes part of the cargo package. But it's really interesting. And it's one of the joys of my career is to watch and work with an artist like that grow from a certain California, into California Dreams was the first tour we did internationally, through some of the other tours, Prismatic, Witness, and on and on. And as they grew and grew and grew, the staff stayed around and we really grew with that artist together. And it was a joy and really a pleasure in my career to watch that artist grow and be part of it.
Yeah. You all have become the experts in getting these touring shows around the world, which has led to this massive partnership with FIFA, Rocket becoming the official logistics partner for FIFA for the World Cup that's coming, the largest sporting event in the world history. That's a really big deal. You're also having world tours going on at the same time. How are you managing both?
For 50 years, we've been perfecting how to move live events around the world and how to make sure, as you mentioned before, the show must go on.
Yeah.
So taking those lessons learned and the architecture that we've built around moving large live events, we have partnered with FIFA to handle this large scale event. My responsibility is to make sure that the live touring division and the live touring team has what they need to continue to grow and provide the best services for our customers. Make sure that all the tours have all the resources and all the firepower that they need to make sure that their shows continue on while the company grows into supporting another large mega event like the FIFA World Cup. And while we're supporting the FIFA World Cup, we're also supporting some of the largest world tours in 2026 and beyond.
Can you name some of those?
We're currently supporting Harry Styles, BTS, AC/DC, and others.
And do you also do arena size and amphitheater size shows?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're really excited about is making sure we're creating a next gen for the artists of the future. So we're constantly teaching and preparing some of our staff to go out and be the agents of tomorrow. We call them next gen. And those folks are concentrating on the emerging artists and supporting anything from a band in a van with a simple customs clearance across the border, all the way up through the theatrical process into arenas, amphitheaters, and eventually into stadiums. One of the things that we love working with, and as I mentioned with Katie, is working with an emerging artist, watching them find their footing and accelerating through the curve into larger and larger venues where we can then support them going around the world.
Wow. And I assume, is it the same technique in that secret sauce that you guys have here at Rocket that's doing the World Cup? Is it the same way, or do you guys have to do things differently with sports?
There's definitely some differences.
Okay.
I think the mission is always failure is not an option.
Oof.
So, that's sort of one thing that we've always been taught. Failure is not an option. One of the other ones that we've always been taught is sort of the approach determines the landing, which is something that the founder of the company had always instilled into a lot of us and a lot of the staff where, hey, think about it, make sure you have a plan A, make sure you have a plan B. But at the end of the day, the show has to go on. And so I think we're bringing that thought process and that approach into some of these large mega events, such as the FIFA World Cup, such as supporting F1 races, supporting the Olympics, and some of our other divisions.
How big is Rocket? How many employees do you guys have?
The Rocket company is about 1,200 worldwide. The Rocket Cargo division is about 300 or so.
That's not that many for doing the largest events ever. Right. And do you have employees that are also touring with these shows?
We have lots of people that are responsible for a specific show.
Yeah.
And then we have certain employees that will be on site or attendance.
Yeah.
We have people that are amazing at it, and that's what they do as a living. We have people that are amazing that are, at the control towers and making sure things are handled from an office perspective. But yeah, we have people on the road.
It's a good gig. It's a world that, again, when I was trying to look into this industry, I didn't know that this side existed. But people that are, what would you say, people at Rocket, employees that work here, your team, what would you say are their top qualities that make them great at what they do?
Everybody here has, and we instill and teach, again, that failure is not an option. That is a lesson number one. We look at things a little bit differently than, say, the general freight forwarder would look at it when their perspective is making sure they save and they have the most efficient way of doing it in terms of cost. Our clients, while they are very cost conscious and we are very budget conscious with them, know that sometimes we have to go outside the box and think things differently. As again, I mentioned, ideal conditions are amazing. Sunny days, no delays at airports.
Right.
Those are great, great days. But the days where things go sideways, when somebody else that we're relying on doesn't do their job, we have to make sure 24 hours constantly monitoring, making sure that there's a plan B in place.
Do you have a horror story that you just pray never happens again, or you learned it the hard way?
I have many. A funny one would be, it was a large scale tour going through Manila. We had landed on the day we were supposed to deliver the cargo day before show.
Okay.
We were loading in that evening to tech. It was an outdoor show, so it was essential that we loaded in that evening so they could program lights. We land early afternoon. We're in the Philippines. I get pulled into the customs office, and the woman who's in charge of customs was waiting on a signature from somebody downtown. It was the Office of Tourism. And she said, I think we should pray for customs clearance. And I kind of took it as a joke, yeah, of course we should, we should all pray for it. But no, we sat for 30 minutes in a prayer session in this woman's office in front of a statue and literally prayed for customs clearance. And it came. It came about an hour later.
Prayer works.
Prayer works.
Is it because maybe she really did not think it was going to happen for you?
Yeah. I mean, she was a very wonderful woman, religious woman. And, I don't know if it's a horror story, but it's a funny story.
That's a fun one.
I mean, we've have all kinds of stories of, aircrafts, because we don't own the aircrafts and we don't own the trucks and we don't own the cargo vans. So we rely on other people's equipment, like most freight forwarders.
Yeah.
But when they are grounded, when there's weather issues, when there's mechanical issues, there's all kinds of horror stories that we have to come and figure out.
Is there a certain continent or country or city that there's always issues?
Definitely around the world. I would say the less industrious countries oftentimes are harder to work in because the systems aren't set up.
Right.
But oftentimes they're easier to work in because there's not as many controls in place.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And weather. What state is the worst in the U.S. to navigate?
Oh God, I mean maybe Alaska. I don't know. They're
Alaska,
all pretty bad.
Can you talk to me about Antarctica? How did that happen?
That was a Metallica show that happened about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And one of the Rocket agents who was working on that took the show from the southern tip of Argentina into Antarctica, and they did a show.
That's crazy. Can anyone go to Antarctica? No. Metallica can.
Yep.
Rocket can. What are some of the tours that you are working with this summer?
We work with bands and tours of all sizes across all genres. This year specifically, we're working with some of the genres we're very excited about: Latin music, country, Nashville-based music, and K-pop as they run around the world, global tours, specifically some of the ones that are heading to regions and areas that they're not necessarily known for going to. Some of the Latin American tours that are starting to explore Australia, Southeast Asia. Some of the country tours are starting to explore deep into Europe and down to Australia. The K-pop tours that are deep into Latin America and around the world.
So in 2026, obviously, social media is helping these artists actually reach global markets and sell tickets in places that they never thought they could. But I feel like knowing that they have a partner like Rocket would help them too. Just knowing that, oh my God, we're going to go to Asia now. We have no idea what to do over there. Well, using Rocket, how do you guys see your involvement helping with this kind of explosion?
Yeah, as fan bases grow more rapidly these days, the productions and the clients are coming to us with the need to now bring the full show around the world oftentimes. So they can bring that to their fan base, not just to certain areas of the world, which traditionally there were certain areas where you could tour on the ground, maybe in North America, maybe in Europe, even into Australia. And some of the other markets would get a secondary or B-size show just because of the economics. Now the fan bases are demanding these larger shows and the A-style shows, and they're coming to us and asking, how do we move this amount of freight? How do we move this amount of production during this time? And they're leaning on us for routing expertise, certain city segments and city pairs that make it more economical than others versus just going out and doing the tour. So that's really become an important part of what we do in the last 3 to 4 years.
Is that consulting and advising on here's what our experience has shown, talking with the artist management teams of kind of where to route? That's really special.
Yeah, and the clients really do rely on us for honest feedback in terms of what's best for the tour. And it's our responsibility to sit with them, help them route the cities and help them route the tour and around in certain kind of time frames that makes it the most economical for them to move around.
What do you see for you in this position with Rocket, with this growing live event, live touring market? How do you see this evolving over the next 5 to 10 years?
I see exactly what we just talked about, which is fan bases are growing.
Yeah.
More artists are going to go global. More artists are going to build brands, which becomes a very important part of what the touring economics are. Promoters can only give you so much money to go out and do a show because there's
Yeah.
only so many tickets you can sell. The secondary money is the, bringing the brand, bringing the experience, bringing that festival vibe of the experiential side of it. What else can they bring? What else can they bring the fan so that they can enjoy the experience?
So we'll be talking to Stu about that.
Correct.
That's super interesting. Thank you so much, Justin.
Thanks for
What a
having me.
career you've had, and I'm honored to hear this. It's a whole nother side of the industry that a lot of people don't know about, and so I hope that we can really bring this out. This is awesome. Thank
Thanks.
you.
And I mean, we represent an amazing team here at Rocket Cargo. There is, hundreds and hundreds of collective years of experience here. I'm just lucky enough and happy enough to be here to help run the team and help them be as productive as they can be.
Amazing. And
Thanks.
final question. Who is your favorite act, favorite band to go watch?
My favorite show, I'm going to answer it differently.
Yes.
My favorite show of all time. People have always asked me, what was your favorite show? What was
Yes.
that one show that gave you the goosebumps? And there's a ton of them. But in 2014, I was lucky enough to be with Soundgarden in the Lollapalooza show in Buenos Aires.
Oh my gosh.
80,000 people, first time they'd ever played it, and them being one of my favorite bands of all time. That's the goosebump show for me.
Makes it all worth it.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much, Justin.
Thank you.
Now we got Nancy Alvarado. So Nancy is a 15-plus year veteran of live event logistics, operations, and project management. A CAPM certified pro who has spent her career navigating the kind of high-pressure, high-stakes environments that most people couldn't handle for a single day. Let's be real. She's now at Rocket as a director of live events, special projects management. Nancy, thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to just take it back to the very first gig that got you into this industry.
Oh my gosh. Well, I started my career here at Rocket in 2008. I started as just a general entry level operator here, and I just did basic trucking and shipments for all a variety of our bands. And
I'm assuming that's like a starting role, right?
yes.
Okay.
So everyone here starts entry level into central operations or some sort of entry level operator role.
Cool.
Where we just handle a variety of different bands or shipments or trade show, experiential, like any kind of variety of shipments.
So is that like just to kind of understand how that whole world works and you're communicating with the transportation and logistics companies and the different air carriers and
Exactly.
trucks?
It's the nitty gritty of like creating truck BOLs, which are like documentation that trucks need in order to transfer freight from one place to another. Creating airway bills, TSA stuff. It's a variety of different operational, like the dirty work.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I started my career here at Rocket. And then eventually I took on bigger projects and bigger roles and more client facing. And then eventually in the last few years, I did my own book of business. I was handling some bands myself. And then I branched off into being like an official Rocket agent.
Wow.
Which is handling bands exclusively. And then from there, I decided to kind of branch off and discover what else is next for me. And I wanted to focus more on corporate events and event strategy. And so I left in 2018.
Were you doing logistics and
Yes.
Okay. Got
Yeah. I was focusing on event strategy,
Got
event
it.
logistics, event planning. So it's a lot of trade shows and conferences for really large Fortune 500 companies. And then recently I just came back actually.
Found your way back home. So what was the reason for coming back?
Well, I was keeping up with the news of Rocket. I saw everything that how Rocket was growing and the company, all our different capacities have increased and just the general like excitement of the growth and future of the company. And so then I just started engaging a little bit with my past managers and they're like, you'll be a great fit to come back and bring whatever you've learned. And you're kind of you're raised as a Rocket person, so you'll understand the background. And and then I came back.
That is awesome. And it's great that you were able to tackle new responsibilities.
Yeah,
And design. I mean, that's a whole different world that Rocket can only benefit from knowing now that you're back.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So 10 years to start. Tell me about that book of artists that you were working with. You don't have to say specifics, but what did it mean to kind of be working with them directly and managing them, being their agent?
Oh, it was great. You become an extension of their production. Like they trust you as being part of their crew. So you get the calls late at night for things that break, emergencies, or just general advice. You really become like, you develop great friendships even with some of them, that they just call you sometimes with like personal and family like updates. And it was great. But yeah, it started from, planning a tour, getting their checklist, set up with everything that they need to do to prepare, the production managers to prepare for their upcoming tour, working with them on deciding, hey, this is going to work out. This is too risky. I would do it this way. You become like an advisor. And then eventually setting everything up. And sometimes if the project is large enough, you are entrusted to go on the road with them and make sure everything is moving along great.
Very cool. Did you enjoy the touring part, the traveling?
I did. I did enjoy the touring part. Their gear is important. So we feel like we have to see everything. We have to see the transition. We have to see where everything goes to make sure that it gets to where it needs to get to.
Yes. And knowing that your motto for you guys here is that failure is not an option.
It's not an option, right? So the more eyes we have on it, the more comfortable we feel. Like, okay, let's make sure that truck is leaving. Okay, that truck is leaving the dock. Good. We're all good. Let me jump to the next place and make sure that truck is moving along. So like we're very, very careful with the journey.
Y'all got to be type A. I mean, you got to care about the tiny nitty gritties.
We do.
Do you have any kind of horror stories of things that just did not go right, but y'all still make the show go on?
Okay, I was handling a band that had a super tight move. They were playing a festival in Australia. And it was because they had previous engagements in LA. It was basically they had one flight to make it to that one festival in Australia. And I won't say the band's name, but the gear had to go on this flight. And so the gear got on the flight. I was tracking it. I was talking to the airlines. Everything was good. I was like, good. It's on the flight. It's moving. I'm tracking the plane. It's going across the ocean. We're all good. And then the plane stopped in the middle of the ocean. And I'm like, oh, okay, why is it stopping? It made an emergency landing in Hawaii because of a medical issue with a passenger.
No.
Because it was in a passenger plane. And so I was like, oh my God, that's horrible, first of all. I hope that passenger is okay. But what do I do? What do I do?
Get that plane in the air again.
Exactly. So I quickly jumped on because we have a great network of agents and support anywhere around the world, which is our great benefit of being here at Rocket. So I called our agents in Hawaii. They were like, okay, we're ready to pull the cargo from the plane and we'll try to find another plane that takes off in Hawaii to meet your deadline. Luckily, the medical situation cleared up fairly quickly in order for the plane to continue on its journey. It was a little bit delayed, but the band made it and it got there right on sound check. So everything was good.
But you had the backup.
We had the backup. Our guys were like, we're at the airport. We're ready to pull.
Wow.
But
are you that person in your personal life too? Always having a backup option?
Oh yeah. I mean, I already think of the worst case scenario before something even happens. They're like, why are you thinking like that before it even? It's like, well, you always have to have a plan B. Like you have to be prepared.
That must be the criteria for getting a gig here. I mean,
I think
you
so.
have to be that way.
I think we just have to have complete ownership of this is an extension of like us, a reflection of our like work ethic and our passion. So yeah,
I'm so not wired that way. I'm like, oh, we get here, now we got to figure it out. So I would be a terrible Rocket employee. I'm glad you guys are handling that. It's nice to know when people just have it. You just give the call, y'all figure it out. With any kind of passport issue or going in different countries that might be a problem. So do you think that's why people really trust you guys?
Yeah, I think that is the reason why we've been so successful all these years. We have a great network. Agents all over the world who are just like us. They're like, what do you mean? Okay, we're on it. We're jumping on this problem. We'll have a plan B. We'll find a solution together. And yeah, we have a great network. We have great resources. All our employees are completely dedicated to what we do. And like you said, we all have that same personality. And yep, we work so closely to our clients that's really our success. And we're all music lovers at the end of the day too. We all want for people to have that experience, that live event, that concert. We all want them to have a positive experience.
Yeah. And now the position that you hold, you're really helping usher in this next generation.
Yes.
And working with the newer artists or up and coming artists, and also the newer staff members here. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I'm working with Justin. We're developing this awesome project to really address both up and coming artists, to make sure that they know about our resources and they know about our company and they know us.
Yeah.
And also to address a lot of our agents and their growth, and to have a good, clear path for them to succeed in the company, learn everything we do, and really mentor and foster their growth.
What led you to be wanting that role? Is it because you started almost 20 years ago?
Exactly. Yeah. Just because I rose through being an entry level ops person to having my own book of business. So I would love people to have that same journey and realize how great it is to be part of this company that has such a great network and resources. So
how long does it take to get it, to fully wrap your head around all that y'all do?
It's a lot. And I think with every shipment that's done, every project that people do, you just learn so much more. So the more people have exposure, the quicker they'll learn. And definitely that's something that we want to help foster here too with the program that we're working on. We want everyone to see all those experiences and to learn from them.
Do you have a story that maybe was working with a client, or it was something with Rocket where you achieved something and you're like, man, this is why I love doing what I'm doing?
Oh yeah. I mean, I personally, my favorite band is Queens of the Stone Age. So just seeing them perform live in a concert, and sometimes getting invited to be in the front, or the perks of the industry.
Of course.
Just seeing them and seeing the audience and their interaction with the band and how they react to the live music, or the specific guitar that's being used, or the audio equipment, or their lighting, or their whole stage performance. It's like, all right, this was all worth it.
This is it. Yeah. You could just be working in other kind of logistics. And this is it. The perks.
Exactly.
Right there. I asked Justin this too. What was your favorite, concert experience? Was that your favorite concert experience?
Yeah. I like the more intimate, small concert, because I feel like that you get more connected with the artist, what they're trying to do, then you have that eye contact, and you're like, I get you, and I helped put that together. Yes.
Right. There's a whole different level of enjoyment when do you have any advice for people wanting to get into maybe just live events in general, and then maybe why they should even consider coming into a logistics company like Rocket?
This is such a great company where you learn project management. That is the core, how to prepare for all the possibilities that come, all the obstacles that might happen, and to always stay completely organized. It is a position where you learn all of your skills through this weird niche that we have of live entertainment logistics, but it can be applied to anything in the world. It just teaches you a lot of good life skills in general.
Yeah, that's amazing. So for you and where you're sitting and your position here, what are you most excited for in your own growth, and where you see the company going?
So many initiatives that are happening right now that I am part of, and I'm working with different teams here on mainly just infrastructure and systems and optimizing our operations. There's so many new technology, a lot of technology out there that can be utilized and really helpful for everyone to elevate us even more. Those are some things that I'm really excited about helping.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
Congrats on an amazing career.
No, thank you for having me. This
doing
is really
some cool
exciting.
stuff.
Thank you for the convo.
Yes. And truly doing things behind the scenes that never get the praise. And so that's something that I'm really passionate we are at Gigs, of really showing the faces of the people that make this stuff actually happen. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
All right, now we have the pleasure of sitting down with Stu Heathcote. Stu is the president of live events at Rocket, overseeing music, experiential, film, and TV across the entire Rocket family of brands. He came to Rocket after 2 decades at AEG Presents, where he led global partnerships and helped launch the marketing campaign behind Taylor Swift's 1989 World Tour, including the Emmy-winning interactive experience. Billboard named him a brand power player multiple times. And before that, he led the marketing teams of the 49ers, the Powerful Sports brands, and now he's running the whole live events team here. So, Stu, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Your career is unbelievable. And just in talking before, you keep putting it to other people about how great they are, but this is all about you. I'm amazed at your involvement in live events. What got you in? What was your first gig?
I don't even know if it was a gig. I grew up as a basketball player, and I was very fortunate to get into UCLA for basketball.
Awesome.
And so I love sports, and that was it. I had a very difficult childhood, so my therapy was going by myself to a basketball court and shooting, and it progressed, and I got better and better. So it got me into the dream school I always wanted to get into. And then, along the way, you get hit with the tough moments, right? I got called into the office, said that we don't have a roster spot for you this season, those kind of things. So do you stay at your dream school, or do you transfer to a smaller school and play basketball, right? And so those are the things that, I had to articulate. I had a lot of good friends. I had a lot of good friends on the team. I had a lot of that stuff going for me. So I said, I'm going to stick this out. I've always wanted to be here, and I think it's going to open more doors for me. So I had an opportunity. My agent got me a gig in Switzerland. So I played for a professional team in Switzerland for 1 season. Didn't make much money, but I got to travel. I got a free place to live. I got to take the train to visit my friends from college. So it was an amazing experience. And it really opened my mind up to how much I love travel and how much I love experiences in other places. And so I traveled down, took a train down to Spain, and I met the president of the apparel division at Reebok. And this is going to date me a little bit, but we met at a payphone. He was calling home to check on family.
Wow.
And I was in line at the payphone, and I think I had a silly UCLA shirt on or something. So he said, "Oh, you're American. Like, what are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah." And so we ironically stayed in touch. After the season ended, I ended up writing him a letter. He remembered me. He got me an interview in the Orange County office, the sales office of Reebok at the time, with the regional head, Joe Harlow. She played basketball at Duke. We had a nice little connection, but she said, "For this job, you have no experience and you're absolutely not qualified." And I said, "Okay, great." And I said, "Well, if there's anything you think I'm qualified for as you move forward, let me know, because I'm very passionate about sports and being in this industry." About 6 months later, they said, "Hey, we have an entry-level position. We loved your passion. Would you want to come back and interview for it?" And so started on the ground level, learned the industry, was in customer service, working with some of the outside sales reps for, I would say, roughly a year, and got promoted into the team sports division. I opened some doors for them at UCLA through the marketing department in Boston, and we negotiated the UCLA sort of 300. It was one of the first 360 footwear and apparel deals.
Wow.
At UCLA. And so I got involved with dealing with them. I was doing athlete contracts in different leagues. And then how do we translate those negotiations and those deals into selling at retail, right? Because you're really doing marketing, so it translates into sales, right? And so it gave me a great mindset on the sales side and the marketing side. I think being in customer service, working with sales reps, and then working with athletes to understand the marketing side and how we needed those sort of anchors. And then from there, as Reebok started to lose market share, get more out of cleated and go back to more casual footwear, I loved the sports and performance side and was recruited by Adidas to join them. So Adidas basically came and said, "Hey, look, we're trying to get back," because Adidas went away for a while. You guys are all probably too young to remember that. And then it came back in the late 90s and early 2000s. And it was like, how do we get back entrenched in performance North America on-field sports? And so they had the idea that they would, work with the NFL. So that's when they called me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in helping us do licensing deals with the NFL and then work to get on-field?" And so we basically had 5 teams that we had. It was when the league split up their licensing. So you had Puma, you had Nike, and you had Adidas. And we had the Patriots and the Chargers and the 49ers. We were executing the launch of the Houston Texans, and we had the Buccaneers as well. So it was getting to work around those teams. As I worked closely with the 49ers and got to know their president, they were like, "Hey, would you ever consider coming to run marketing and business development for us?" Immediately after I agreed to do that, they suspended the owner and we had a whole transition. And it was a very different operating model from the new ownership to the former ownership, even though it remained in the same family. So it was really interesting for me to see how one owner looked at it and another owner looked at it. Honestly, like those tougher times are where you really get the education from. And so we went through kind of years of that. I was really desperate to get back to LA. I had an offer from the Dodgers. I had an offer from AEG. I chose to go with AEG because it was emerging. And the pitch from the old CEO was, we're going to acquire a lot of music businesses and a lot of music promoters, but I don't have the slightest clue how to monetize that. And I need your help to build that and run with the music division. And so I kind of became almost employee number one. So I was working on some sports projects there because obviously AEG owns the Kings and the Galaxy and teams in Europe and has a lot of entrenchment. They own a large percentage of the Lakers at the time. But it was really the thought of, okay, like we can take this like a stock and go up. So Golden Voice, Concerts West, Messina Touring Group, all these, all the big touring groups that are not Live Nation went under the AEG Presents umbrella, which was AEG Live at the time. And then it was up to us to figure out ways to grow the business and get people more comfortable with partnerships and broadcast deals, content, and all the things. So it was 20 years there. It was an amazing run. I got to work around some very legendary concert promoters, the Louis Messinas and the Paul Tillets and the Paul Gongawares and the John Megalins and Larry Valens. And these are, and Jay Marciano, of course, who's currently the CEO. So it was really a great education. And I had to go in as an outsider because I was always in sports and really prove myself to say, I'm not necessarily a sports guy.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the music people back then, it was uncomfortable. It was like, putting on that uncomfortable leather jacket, right? You love it, but it doesn't quite fit.
Yeah.
And then over time, it fits perfectly and you want to wear it every day. And so once they got comfortable with my personality and the way I looked at things and the way we approach things in a really thoughtful way, an intentional way, as opposed to a transactional way, we knew we could build things together. And so we had a lot of success on like the Taylor Swift campaigns, obviously Paul Tillet's, Bill Fold, legends, how they built Coachella, get to have a front row seat and work with them on that. And so a lot of really, really unique properties. I mean, there were hundreds of them around the world. And so it was a great time to be alive, as they say.
Well, and I mean, you being a pioneer in all of this, a theme that I was hearing in this whole story is that you just kept putting yourself out there and people were noticing. You weren't begging for anything. Like the opportunities were coming to you. So it's telling me that you were proving yourself in whatever role you took on, because what did you really know about partnerships when you started with Reebok? And then you learned that, and then you had to go into doing that with Adidas in a whole new world with NFL. How did you learn that, and how did you know that you could become the expert in that?
Look, I think it's a lot, like learning is, you have to be passionate about learning, right? I mean, in all of it, right? And every day is learning. I think kids in college, when I hear them, they're like, well, I just want to get a job so I can get on with my life. Well, every day you're doing homework, and every day you're reading, and every day you're learning about the industry, and every day you're learning about the people you work around, and you're learning about all sorts of different things, right? And so the learning never stops. And if you're humble in that and you read and you stay up on things, it's going to kind of give you a little bit of a head start or whatnot. I think my approach has always been, treat the security guard, treat any worker, any security guard at a venue, anybody the same, whether it's a legend like a Paul Tillet or whether it's someone that you're walking by and you see going into the office every day that has to check your badge. And if you can treat everybody really respectfully and try to brighten up their day just a little bit, I believe that brings in a great culture. And when you have great culture, that's what really is a driving force. And I think there's challenges within that, right? But if it's not for them, it's not for them. It's like we always said back in the day, look, if it's impossible, just say no. If it's difficult, let's give it a try. And so you take the impossible and you move on. But if it's hard, that's kind of the fun part, because the hard is the challenge, and then the challenge is the journey, and the journey is usually the fun part of the end.
Boom. Something that you really enjoyed bringing to AEG was the relationship instead of the transactional. And I can imagine, did you learn that in brand partnerships through with NFL, with all these different apparel companies. Partnerships require just relationship, which then can make you a lot of money. How did you bring that into AEG?
Early on in Coachella, when maybe the festival wasn't as well known or struggling, as we had an offer on a new music product. I don't want to mention the brand; it's a massive brand, but they were not entrenched in music, and their credibility in music maybe wasn't where it should have been at that time. And so, we got offered a crazy amount of money for the festival to be able to launch this product. And so I sat down with the creator of Coachella, Pallet, and I said, look, this is enormous money. This can catapult us. This is it. And he said, listen, it may help us financially, but this product won't be around in a year or two. And I don't want to align this festival and this brand with something that won't be here in 2 years because it will damage the brand. It will damage the credibility of the brand.
Wow.
And so we passed on a big check. And, there's partners, there's financial partners, there's things that put a lot of weight on that and a lot of pressure on that. But that was another moment and another nugget of you don't need to be transactional. Yes, you need to pick up business. Yes, you need to sell deals. Yes, you need to go after these leagues and all the things. But at the end of the day, the transactional piece of it is maybe not as powerful as looking at the long-term journey and the long-term vision of it. So those were a couple examples of good lessons I learned along the way.
Let's just look at what Coachella is now. I know it as obviously a great music festival. It's one of the top destinations to go, but also it is brand activation central. And it's what so many other festivals are now trying to emulate. And so it's, let's get into Rocket. What brought you from AEG to Rocket?
I got a call from an old friend that was on the private equity side, and he was a part of the team that purchased Rocket many, many years ago. And when they were doing their due diligence, he called me. He's an amazing human being. His name's Bill Linehan. He was, how do I describe this guy? Just in case I get this soundbite, I have to send it to him. But he's a North Star, right? So we went to UCLA together, dear friends, All-American water polo player, Rhodes Scholar candidate at UCLA, modeled on the side, went to Wharton Business School, lived in New York as a banker, hardest working guy you'll ever meet, one of the smartest human beings you ever meet. And I introduced him to his wife, so I take credit for that. They have 2 amazing kids. But he was part of the team that was doing due diligence on Rocket, and he called me and said, hey, you're sitting in the epicenter of music in LA. I'm trying to learn more about the music business. I'm looking at buying this company, Rocket Cargo. Is there any expertise you can give me on how tours are routed, how the infrastructure of touring works globally, all that stuff? So I said, hey, why don't you come down, spend a week in the office. I'm going to introduce you to some touring legends and see if you can pick up any nuggets of information around them that'll be helpful in the transaction. And so he came in and did that. And fast forward probably 10, 12 years later, he called me and he said, hey, I was running down to get a coffee and I ran into a board member at Rocket who's currently was owned by a company, ATL.
Mm-hmm.
And that board member said, yeah, we have a great board. It's a lot of folks that are on the logistics side or the freight forwarding side, but we don't really have anybody that understands commercial on the board. And Bill said, well, I have a really good friend that is an executive on the commercial side at AEG. You should pick his brain. And he's built a lot of commercial organizations along the way. And so ended up talking to the gentleman. Then COVID hit. I did a couple Zoom calls with the CEO at the time, and they reached out and asked me to join the board. So obviously I went back to AEG and said, is this even okay? And they said, yeah, it's a non-compete. It'll be good experience. So I went and did it. And then during that journey, we made the decision that we needed to hire a new chairman. And so there's a gentleman that's our chairman now, Dan Rosenthal.
Yep.
So we went through the interview process. Myself and the head of the board were very involved in that. And Dan is a North Star. He's one of those visionaries. He is nothing can defeat me. Positivity, energy bus lifestyle. You can't help but just want to run through a wall for this guy.
Wow.
And the rest of the team I know feels the same way. And so he trusted me enough to invite me into the room to sell the business at the time. I think it really is a good example of, John Wooden had this old saying, right? Just as a UCLA basketball knuckle, I'll say it, but it was like, it's what you learn after you know it all that matters. And so you go into these things thinking, oh, well, I've done all these great things in the industry and blah, blah, blah. And so it really humbles you. You're in front of bankers. You're in front of people they're far smarter than me. Dan's far smarter than me. It's just you're listening and you're learning, and every question, there's a reason behind it. Dan really said you have to listen to the question and understand why the question's being asked, what the motivation is, what was asked before that question to take you to that question, and what do you think is going to be asked after that question. And so he really had this knowledge of how these guys think, and it was an incredible learning experience for a long period of time. So I was really blessed to be able to go through that. It was a big reason why I wanted to come on board. I miss my dear friends where I worked for 20 years, and a lot of them, we talk all the time.
Yeah.
Because I learned so much from each one of them in different ways. So much respect for that. And, a lot of respect for the lessons that Dan taught me along the way since joining.
Wow. Since joining, how many years ago?
Well, the board, I was on for 2 years, and then I've been in this operator role for 2 years.
What have you felt like is the biggest transition for you?
I think going through the sale process was obviously very crazy. A lot of months in New York, right? Yeah. Just trying to understand, what pushes the buttons of the people, right? Because you really want to build culture. You want to have everybody rowing the boat in the same direction.
Got it.
And when you acquire a lot of new businesses and you bring new businesses on board, and people might have had a lot of passion for those businesses they were in before they were purchased, you have to figure out a way to bring everybody together. And that doesn't just mean personalities or culture. It means integration. It means brand integration. It means a lot of different things.
So how did the FIFA relationship come to be?
I was on the board at the time, and Dan said, hey, why don't you come with me? And a gentleman by the name of Brent Nagy, who's also an incredible commercial agent. He leads our mega event strategy. He leads how do we get into these bigger things, and he is super nice. He's built this amazing relationship with FIFA. Really give him a ton of credit for that, and Dan as well, because these relationships are difficult, right? And they become your family, and sometimes family gets difficult, right? There's wants and needs and all those things. So we went back to Zurich and started the conversation. They didn't really know much about us, but it gave me a chance to see someone like Dan and someone like Brent and the head of our board, Andy Clark, be in a room and talk about the business and present. I happen to know the commercial person from my past life in the commercial side, Nick Brown. And those guys have really led this thing and done such an amazing job. Now it's about execution.
Yeah.
The teams are built. You have great leadership in Ed Reno that Darren has really pushed people out into roles that they're going to succeed in. He's done an amazing job of identifying that. I think Ed Reno has done the same thing. We have Brandon Bowles. We have Nick Kashparik. We have a great team of people that are ready to lead and get through this event. It's the biggest event in the world. There'll be a lot of challenges, but we have the right team to pull it off.
In world history.
That's
ever been put on.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big task.
It's a tiny little thing.
That y'all's motto is that failure is not an option. And so for the biggest sporting event in world history, there's a lot of pressure that goes into that.
Yeah.
So you have to have the right teams in place. For your role in particular, I love that you were talking about with culture and making sure that everyone is pushing towards the same goal. What is that in your mind for FIFA, in particular, the World Cup, while the rest of Rocket's business is still moving?
Yeah, well, it's interesting, right? And we move what moves you. And certainly FIFA and the World Cup move a lot of people emotionally.
Yeah.
And so we're excited to see that play out. I think from the standpoint of how do we look at that business, right? So we have to deliver.
Yeah.
Critically, the most important thing is delivering for FIFA and creating the best event with FIFA that we can, getting things to the right place, making sure the venues are all executing. We have a control tower approach where the information goes and gets distributed to the different places they need to be distributed to. But I think there's two other circles involved in this. One is all the broadcasters, right? All those needs that they have. Now, we may not have 100% of that business, but we have a really good portion of that business. And I think what that can do is then take it into the next mega event where we continue to work with those broadcasters, right? And so when you look at the third circle of it, it is experiential and all of the other things. So yes, FIFA is a moment in time. There will be more World Cup, Women's World Cup in Brazil, but that's a little more centralized, right? So not as much movement across 3 countries, 16 cities. But what happens is you're then now have relationships with the broadcasters, you have relationships with those brands, those agencies, those experiential folks that are critical as you go forward. Because look, experiential is trade shows and conventions and sporting events and music events and festivals especially, and so many other things, right? And so how do we take that business, have the right analytics on how we look at going after the TAM and making it global, and then building these relationships with the agencies and brands and obviously the other trade shows and conventions that we spoke about. So
It's huge.
So it's huge. So we have to get this right.
Yeah.
Again, failure is not an option. And I believe we have the right team to do it.
Talk to me a bit more about these experiential. It's more than just the event itself. It's the branded activations and the experiential components that you guys have to move. Can you talk about what some of those could be that have been in the past, or what they're going to be with the World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the low-hanging fruit is kind of the world I come from, right?
Yeah.
And so if you go back to a Coachella or a Stagecoach or some of these other 40 festivals we had oversight to at AEG, all of those brands are what helps pay for not only the event, but the artists, bookings, and all the things, right? So you have to have the brand's involvement in all of these events, whether it's music, whether it's sports, whatever it might be. I mean, you have now wellness exhibitions, and you have, museum exhibit. You have all these kind of things, right, that need to go from one place to the other.
Yeah.
So, you might have an American Express that's at Electric Forest in the middle of nowhere. Work with Momentum, who's our agency, and you get the Amex activations and you get them to Electric Forest. So that's just one of thousands of these opportunities.
Especially now that everything is, the value of having those in-person events, around events, is everywhere. Everyone's doing it now.
Everywhere.
Every brand has to do it.
And I think the crossover between sports and music, right? When has FIFA ever done halftime shows at the capacity they're doing them now, right? I mean,
Right.
Katie, who we've done her tour for many, many years. We did her tour when I was at AEG.
Yes.
We do her tour here at Rocket. Justin Carbone, who you met earlier, is involved in that. Etzel's involved in that, and she'll be performing at the LA opener for the U.S.-Paraguay match. So these things have connectivity. We have to get in and make sure that we're making sure that connectivity turns into business, making sure that we're driving the relationships, making sure we're pushing the commercial forward. And that, that's going to be the key to our success going forward. But again, it's about the people. It always comes back to the people. And when you talk about Darren Brown and you talk about these team of leaders that we have, you talk about Fritz on the art and car side, incredible leaders but incredible human beings that are just really passionate about what they do. And I might have a fun history, but the things I've already learned from Darren Brown are incredible and next level. Angus, who runs our marketing, I learn from him every day. So there's just, that's where the important stuff comes. That's where the secret sauce comes, in the people. And this is an asset-light business with people that have been here for decades. And they are people that really care about success and getting things to the next place. Sometimes those emotions can be high because there's a lot of pressure on delivery. And so we just want to make sure that we're providing the best environment for them to work, the best environment for them to perform, and, all things move forward.
And it's very apparent, obviously, in how much you guys dominate touring and music where I come from and where a lot of our listeners come from, but to see the expansion of this, just showing the world what you can handle while still handling pretty much every major tour ever. So
that, and it's such a good point, because we may have a significant amount of market share in global touring, but we want more. So if you look back on festivals in general, right? Festivals were culturally a European feel, right? And you look at Glastonbury and some of the other big festivals, no one really thought it could work in the States until Paul Tollett had this vision. But what's happened is, when music and brands were not culturally appropriate, when everybody wanted to be indie, I'm not selling out, all those things, well, now it's quite the opposite, right? I mean, you see brand activations almost as big as some of the headliners. You also see headliners showing up at the brand booths. Like an example, an American Express, who has a relationship with an Olivia Rodrigo. She's going to show up at that Amex activation because Amex might be a tour partner that's offering access to that tour. So the brand and the music infrastructure are becoming closer and closer. And that didn't happen 10 to 15 years ago. And so when you really pull it back, it's like, how do we figure out ways to get more entrenched in experiential because of what's happening in the music business and what's obviously been happening in sports, but more so in music now because all those music artists want to be aligned with these different companies that can elevate and expand their platform. And so, it's about aligning with the right brand, but that right brand wants to travel.
Wow.
And that's where we come in. And so whether they're hitting 6 festivals in the festival season or 20 festivals, we've got to get those activations site to site, and we got to move them the right way, and we got to get them in, and we got to get them activated and set up so that they can perform for the fans, because truly the brands are performing for the patrons now as well.
And if you're going to build an incredible experiential setup, why use it just one time? Move it around, do it a bunch.
Yeah.
Use Rocket for that.
Yeah.
I could talk to you for hours, but this was fascinating. Thank you for sharing your career. We're all very excited to see what you guys do.
Thank you so much.
Especially with this World Cup. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to Rocket for giving us an inside look into the operations, logistics, and people that make the world's largest events happen. So, when y'all are watching the FIFA World Cup this summer, just know that Rocket got everything to all 16 stadiums. Thanks y'all so much for watching, and go USA!